Hello everyone and welcome back to the Melbourne 245 series. This is the Training Diaries, an episode where I deep dive into my previous week of training, a conversation of all things training, nutrition, workouts, pretty much everything that goes into running a sub 245 marathon. Something that you can listen to like a podcast while you're out on your easy run or while you're in the ice bath shivering your cheeks off. So for last week, I was calling it my down week, which basically meant that I was running a 10K race on the Sunday instead of my typical 2 hour 30 plus long run. So naturally the mileage was gonna be lower, but I wouldn't say that the intensity dropped all that much and I kept the load decently high. Finishing with a total mileage of 95 kilometers for the week, I would say that it was probably my most exciting and fun week that I've had of running in a really, really long time. A mixture of exciting tests, racing, not vlogging that race, not putting pressure on myself for that race, and also having a down week really made for a pretty epic week. Also, you can expect a recap later on in this video of that said 10-kilometer race. Man, it was such an epic race. So let's get into the week of training that was the 2nd to the 8th of September. This video series is once again proudly sponsored by Aid Station. They're keeping me fueled and hydrated for my preparations to run 245 at the Melbourne Marathon and have done so for the past 2 years. I can always count on Aid Station to have the best products and super fast shipping. So check them out if you want to support me by supporting them. Now, back to you, Dave. All right, so kicking the week off with Monday, we've got a treadmill recovery. I ran just over 9.5 Ks at around 5:13 per kilometer. I ran those in the Puma Mag Max, my go-to recovery shoe. This one was run on the treadmill, like always, and you can bet your ass I was watching a bit of anime while I was running. One of my guilty pleasures for my week is running on the treadmill, watching some anime, and it looks like I indulged in a date with peanut butter in it as well. So I was actually feeling not too bad after that big Sunday long run last weekend, or the day before, with that 35.5 kilometer longie with some efforts in. But yeah, I was feeling pretty good. Just obviously a little bit sore in the legs, but nothing a good recovery run can't flush out. So that's what I did. We did just over 9.5 Ks for the day. Then we move into Tuesday. So Tuesday, I don't actually have a post on here really because I did a lactate threshold test at the run clinic. So I actually have done a full video explaining all about it, how the test works, how I'm going to use it in my training, the whole gaff. So if you haven't seen that video, make sure you go check it out. It's one of the proudest videos I've ever made, just purely because I feel like it's going against the usual style of recording running. It has like a good informative aspect to it, and it was something that I am generally super keen to learn more about and implement in my own training. So if you've ever wondered what the hell lactate threshold is, what does it mean, like what lactate is, like what a lactate test looks like, and you know, it's not just for elite runners. I did it and I've definitely seen benefit from doing the test, and doing the test actually wasn't as complicated and as inaccessible as I thought it would be. It's actually quite accessible to really anybody, which is one of the things I've learned along this journey, and I feel like I learned a lot, and I hope you guys enjoyed that content. But if you haven't seen it, go check that out. But basically what we did a lactate threshold test. I've put a manual upload only because on my watch I did an outdoor run instead of indoor run. Oh, absolute rookie. So it just said I was doing it's like 30-minute pace or something. It was just, yeah, it just wasn't. Oh, here we go. It was 1.19 Ks at 54-minute pace. So I'll just forget that. That obviously isn't right. But we've got the lactate threshold test here. Basically what we did was we did a warm-up where we touched on easy and then spiked the lactate to, we did about some half marathon effort and then back to easy to sort of clear it. And then we did 5-minute increments where we basically went up 1 kilometer per hour on the treadmill each segment. And then we did we tested a specimen. So he got my blood and tested the blood lactate every time in between those 5-minute intervals. So it was probably about a minute off the treadie and then back on for 5 minutes. We did 9 rounds, and we ended up working down to 3-minute pace. So lucky that it was on a Tuesday, and it definitely was, which is usually my session day. It was definitely a session, and I was feeling pretty cooked by the end of it, but I enjoyed every single second of it. And if you've seen the video, you'll have to agree with me on that. I was all smiles. I was all smiles apart from when I was hurting, but as soon as I had to stop, I was all smiles. So really, really fun video, really informative. I recommend you go check it out. And yeah, it's a great video. But then basically I ended up just checking the treadmill to see how far I ran, and I ran about 12.5K, probably ran a little bit further. We were on there for over an hour. So it would have worked out to be about that 12.5Ks. Although we did keep the treadmill running while I was resting. But yeah, we were definitely going a lot faster than a 5-minute pace. So even way faster than a 4-minute pace, which would even out to 5 minutes with that minute rest. So I think it all worked out. I think I didn't skimp out on the miles, but I needed to add it because I needed to add it to Training Diary. So that's why I've got a manual upload. A little bit dodgy, but let's just call it 12.5K for the morning. Then we move on to Wednesday, which is usually my easy 60 minutes, which is exactly what I did. We went out for an hour, ran 12.7K and at 4:44 pace. So like I said in the first video, trying to do my easier runs a little bit faster. Now I have more of I have more information based off my LT1 and LT2, so I can kind of know my ranges a little bit more now, and I am very confident that 4:44 to 4:50 pace is definitely in my easy zone. The heart rate stays super low around that 140, so nowhere near even close to LT1. So that's exactly where I want to be doing my bulk easy miles, is around that heart rate, around that zone. So that's exactly what we did. We wore the Mizuno Neo Vistas for those, and yeah, I just wrote here, this felt nice, because it did. Felt really good. No calf problems either. Calf is completely fixed. Thank the heavens for that one. But then we come to Thursday, which is my easy 80 minutes. Same thing. This time I ran out to the trails. That's what I like to do on my 80 minutes. I like to make my way out to the trails on the spits, just so I do a little bit up and down, and it's a bit softer on the body, and it's just generally just more enjoyable that way. I think there is a lot of merit to trying to find a route. Actually, I'm unsure how to say that word. A route that will keep you interested, something nice to look at, and just makes the Ks tick by just a little bit faster and a little bit smoother. So that's exactly what I did. I wrote here, I did 16.62 Ks at 4:49 average, and that was 80 minutes in total. So bang on there. I wrote here in the little Strava description, groin is sore for the first time in my life. Weird feeling, not sure why either. So basically maybe the last couple of K, I felt like this, it was like this burning sort of almost cramping feeling, like how do I say where this is without getting explicit? It's kind of like just below my waistline at the front. And then I realized, like, when I got back and I was kind of moving around and stretching, that it might have been like my abductor, but like really high up. So I think my abductors were just a little bit sore from maybe the threshold test the day before or the 2 days before. But I definitely felt it, and it definitely didn't feel very good, and I've never felt it before. So that had me a little bit worried. The pain was probably like a 2 or 3 out of 10. So nothing crazy, but I knew it was there. So yeah, that was 16.5K for the morning. Then we move on to Friday. So Friday, as you guys know, is my session day with the run group. I knew that I had a race that weekend, so I still wanted to go and run with other people, but I didn't want to obviously send it because I do want to kind of reserve a little bit for an all-out 10K on the Sunday. So I did a workout with Michael from the run group. He was doing 35 minutes at marathon pace. So his marathon pace that he was aiming for was around 4 minutes to 4:05. So I saw this as a perfect opportunity for me to do some effort at my LT1, my newfound LT1. So LT1 in the controlled conditions of the aircon, which you would have seen if you watched the video, was around 3:53 pace. And usually LT1, they like to say, is your marathon pace or roundabout. So I'm thinking out of the controlled conditions of the aircon and out on the roads, it's probably closer to like that just under 4-minute pace with my LT1. So I thought 35 minutes at LT1 or just below would be a really good stimulus for me, and it wouldn't be overdoing it or overcooking it for my race on Sunday. So that's exactly what I did. We did a 5K warm-up, which I did in the Puma Mag Max this time. Don't know why, I just felt like it. They felt incredible. We did those at 5-minute pace, so nice and easy. And then we went into 35 minutes at LT1. So that 35 minutes, we sort of progressed a little bit. We started at around 4:10, and then we progressed every kilometer. We lost about a couple of seconds each time. We finished with a 3:57 split for the last K. But what was interesting was my first K at 4:10 was 160 beats per minute. And then the next 5 to 6, all of the Ks after that were all 165 beats. So I would say that is right around my LT1 efforts. Even though I was picking up the pace slightly with each one, progressing in, I kept it in that nice controlled range. And man, it just felt so good, so easy, so smooth. I will note that I wore the Saucony Endorphin Elites, my Faithfuls, my favorite shoe ever. Favorite racing shoe ever. Even though they're 400 Ks deep, the reason I wore these for the session was I had plans to wear that shoe for the 10K race on the weekend. So I just wanted to kind of be reminded what they felt like, and really just to see if they had enough life in them left to race on Sunday in them. And after running at LT1 and just smooth as butter, I was reconfirmed. I was reassured that they were going to do the job on Sunday. So wore those, absolutely enjoyed them. And then we did about a 1 or 2K cool down. So we ended up doing 15K in total for the day. And that sort of effort part averaged to 4:13. So that's with the cool down added on top. But yeah, really, really good. I wrote cruisy, and that's exactly how it felt. It was awesome. Such a good morning. Then we come to Saturday. Saturday, I ran this with my friend Kieran. We've been running together every Saturday or so, maybe like once a month on a Saturday. We've been running together. We just go out for an hour. So that's what we did. So just over an hour. We worked for 12K in total, 5:24 pace. Usually I would run these a little bit faster, and I would usually stick to maybe just around the 60 minutes. But even though I did 65 minutes, it was at 5:24 pace. And I really just had in mind, like, I had this race the next day. I still wanted to get the mileage in, but I didn't want to, I guess, add any more fatigue. I still wanted to be, I guess, mini tapering in a way. Try to keep the legs as fresh as I guess I could while still running every day. So it was actually just so nice running slower and like just chatting the entire way. Like literally didn't even feel like I went for a run that day. It was beautiful. And it was absolutely stunning that morning. The sunrise, I've got a photo here that you guys can see. Absolutely stunning. But yeah, that was just over 12 Ks for the morning. And then we come to the Sunday race. So this was big, guys. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you would have seen that I ran a pretty big PB on Sunday. So I had the Bridge to Brisbane 10K race, and this is officially going to be the race recap. I didn't film any of the day. Didn't film it at all. One, I just wanted to take the pressure off having to film. I also wanted to just run and just enjoy it. Just run and enjoy it, not have to worry about filming. Not that filming or anything like is a burden, but I don't know. It was just kind of nice, just soaking it up and just living in the moment, not having to worry about filming. I ran with the Run Clinic, the guys I did the Latate test with. They had me on their team, so I had their singlet on. It was pretty cool. Felt like a bit of a part of a team there. I parked near the start line, and then you race the race, and then you've kind of got to make your way back. And for this reason, I didn't want to run with my phone. I left my phone in the car. So I was literally just I just raw dogged this race, you could say. But basically how the race went, guys, we ran 34:31 for the 10K, which is a massive PB. I think my PB before that was 36:50, and that was at the Bridge to Brisbane 10K 2 years ago. So we've definitely improved, team. We have definitely improved. We ran 10Ks, 3:27 per K average, and 34 minutes and 31 seconds. I wrote here, PB season continues, such an enjoyable run, this one, and surprisingly fast too. In my head, I wanted 34 mid, so I'm stoked. Yeah, I was happy with anything in the 34s, but 34 mid was like me thinking, if I have a near perfect race or I run to my genuine capability, I was gonna get that 34 mid, and I hit straight on that. So if you guys know Bridge to Brisbane, you know it is it's quite a hilly course in ways that there's 2 massive hills and then the rest is dead flat, which you wouldn't think makes for a fast course, but it makes for a bloody lightning quick course. So basically the first hill is the Gateway Bridge, which is immediately. So you're starting at the bottom of this bridge. It is 1 kilometer to the middle, like to the top, and then 1 kilometer down. So the first K, I wanted to keep preserved. I didn't want to go too hard because I knew that I don't do much hill training, so that would absolutely send me. So I kept it reasonably chill. It was 41 meters elevation, and I ran 3:47 pace for the first K. So kept a lid on it, I think. Pretty happy with that. Then the next K going down, which is minus 48 elevation. So you can imagine, felt like I was floating down this hill, down this bridge. It was a 3:10 split. I don't think I've ever run a 3:10 split in any race that I've ever done in my life. So that was a weird feeling. And then how the course kind of works, once you hit the bottom of the bridge, it still kind of goes down a little bit for a little bit longer, at least for the next K, and it shows here. The next K, the third K, was 3:20, and that was also minus 13 elevation. Then pretty much for the next 5K, it stays dead flat running up Kingsford Smith Drive. This is where I managed to lock into a pace. So because I wanted that sub 35, I had in my mind no splits slower than 3:30 pace. Ideally, we want to be under for those. And that's exactly what we did. So 4th K, 3:28, 5th K, 3:28, 6th K, 3:28, 7th, 3:29, and then the 8th, 3:32. So must have been hurting a little bit there when we got to the 8th. I will add though, when you get to about the 8th K, you kind of go down underneath this underpass, where I will add that there was a piano and opera singers singing the most epic, I felt like I was in Star Wars or something. It was pretty cool. So you go down and then you go up this pretty decent hill. It's only plus 11, but I think because you actually went down to go up, it was worse than it actually says here. But for the 9th K, we ran 3:31. At this stage, Tomo, who you guys would know from my previous videos, and he always smokes me in just every race, cheeky bastard, but he was ahead of me the entire race. I ended up kind of catching him by about the 8th K, and I saw him in distance, and then I managed to catch him at the top of this hill, which was probably, by the time I caught him, it was probably about 8.5 K into the race, so we had about a mile to go. He hears me talking to this other guy that was running next to me, and then I think he got the shock of his life because something just came over him, and he absolutely sent that 10th K. Looking at his Strava, I think he ran a 3:12 split for the last K, which is just diabolical. But basically, my 9th K was 3:31. In that 9th K, I'd just come off that hill. I was struggling big time. That hill really, really hurt me. I felt probably the best I've ever felt in a race leading up to that hill, and then that hill humbled me. But it looks like here I managed to keep it together and hold pace, but the effort went from about an 8 to a 10. I was really, really focusing on just staying alive for that one. And then we get to the final K where I ran a 3:21 split. So You know we got that kick in us, guys. It's funny that I say I got a kick because there was a bloke from a local run club called the Bush Turkeys. He was just ahead of me all race. We ended up being shoulder to shoulder for probably the last K1.5 after that hill. And it came down to a sprint finish, me versus him, and he outkicked me. He outsprinted me on the line and got the win. So shout out to you, mate. You earned it. You bloody smashed it. But yeah, it was good having some healthy competition there, sprinting through. Managed to come over the line with a massive PB of 34 minutes and 31 seconds. Definitely recommend doing the Bridge to Brisbane if you haven't done it before. I know there's hills, but somehow there's enough downhill that it evens out and you end up with a really, really fast race, really competitive. I think there was like 22,000 people that ran the 10K. And I think I came 65th. Not bad. 65th out of 22,000. I'll give myself that. It's not bad. But that is Sunday. That is Sunday done, guys. And we came in at 95 Ks for the week. So like I said, not the biggest week we've ever done, but I think there was some good quality in there. I got some good stimulus. I will definitely comment that my calves are so sore today. Just those hills and that sprinting just does a number to me. So it was a nice easy one on the recovery treadmill today, which you guys will hear all about next week. But that's going to conclude the Strava breakdown of my week. And now we're going to get into the viewer Q&A. So these are all questions that you guys have sent me on Instagram or you've commented on last week's episode. I will say that someone commented a question and then I replied, good question, thank you. And then they replied, are you going to answer it? I was like, I thought you were asking for the training diaries. So if you're commenting a question on my training diaries episodes, I'm just going to assume that you are asking for me to answer in the next week's episode. But keep an eye out for question boxes on my Instagram story, or you can comment them down below and we'll get to them. I'll be answering them as honestly and as raw off the cuff as I can. That's the idea of these, and hopefully you guys get some value. But let's get into our first question. Don't know why I'm doing these finger guns. I did a fair bit of those just before, but let's get into them. All right, first question. This one's from Lockie. Shout out Lockie. He's used to be one of my athletes that I was coaching. Absolute wep. So how often do you lower body strength train per week for running? So I will train legs once a week. I'm not really doing super heavy lifting. It's more maintenance for me. Just trying to keep, maintain strength in my glutes, lots of band work. And I guess technically you would say I spend another day in the gym doing lower body work, as in I do my calf strengthening exercises that Darcy from the Run Clinic has prescribed me. He just noticed that I have weakness in my calves, well, a lot of weakness. He said, your right calf is weak, but your left calf is weaker. So not nice, but I needed to hear it. And for someone who has never really trained calves, that's something I really needed to work on. And so, yeah, I guess you could say I try to do that once or twice a week, try to fit those in. I didn't really do it last week, but that's because my calves were sore from the beer mile. But yeah, so I guess once a week for leg strength and then once or twice a week for my calf rehab exercises or calf strengthening exercises. Then we have the next question. So this one is from Sinal Fitness. So what's the least amount of time to train for a marathon needed? There's just so many aspects to this question that will dictate the answer, I think. So one, how long have you been training for? If you're completely new to running and this is like your first ever marathon, you've never ran a half marathon even, then I would say 16 weeks is an absolute minimum, just because you need to be running long enough to actually build up the mileage, like the suitable mileage to be able to run a marathon and to be able to enjoy it. I would say that probably almost anyone could go out and run a marathon or walk a marathon and get it done, but that's not what impresses me, because I think anybody could do that. It's the person that has trained and stay consistent and stack the bricks over 16 weeks shown up for themselves day in, day out, and then ran the marathon and actually was able to enjoy it. It wasn't the worst day of their life because they were undertrained, unprepared. They were prepared, they enjoyed it, and then they killed it. That's what impresses me. But that's if you're completely new, so I would say at least 16 weeks. If you're a seasoned runner, and this isn't your first rodeo, you've run a few marathons before, then I would say maybe 8 to 12 weeks, 8 weeks minimum to run a marathon. And if you're stepping up from the half marathon to the marathon, yeah, I would say you need at least 12 weeks. 16 weeks is just going to be ideal for pretty much anyone. Gives you enough time to build the base and then build the mileage safely. And then you can, once you've got that aerobic base, you can really start stacking layers of training sessions, and it doesn't really just become about a mileage thing. It just becomes more of a how much intensity can you add into those sessions, and managing load and managing recovery and everything else. So I say all that to say 16 weeks is ideal, especially if you're brand new to the marathon. But if you're needing any more guidance on how to do that, it can be overwhelming, make sure you reach out to me and we'll jump on the Cadence Athlete team, and then we'll get you to the start line healthy, fit, and ready to go. Little cheeky plug there. But moving on, next one from Harry Goodenough. Favorite gel, favorite carb drink, favorite electrolyte drink. So favorite gel, Morton Gel 160. I'm just gonna rapid fire these ones. Fave carb drink, the Scratch Labs orange carb drink. I found that you could like double and triple scoop that really easily. It didn't become thick and it didn't taste gross. It was actually delicious. So that one. Fave electrolyte drink, it's got to be Element. There's just nothing that beats it for me. I love that salty taste and I think it's the best. Do not take that out of context. The I love salty taste. Do not take that out of context, please. And then we have our last question. We've got, this one's from Andre Jordan. What's your advice to someone wanting to step up from halves to full marathons? I would say, ask yourself why you want to step up. Is it something that you actually want to do, or is it something you're just wanting to tick off? I would also say there's no rush to going to the marathon. I feel like these days there's just, everybody just wants to skip everything else and then just run straight, like just go straight to the marathon. Like marathons are fun, they're great, but they're also very hard, very taxing. They take a lot of time and energy, training and recovering and everything else. So one thing I would say is just, there's no rush. There's no rush. If you're enjoying the half marathon, I would just focus on absolutely getting that half marathon as fast as you can. And just trying to bring those times down as much as you can. But if, like what my advice would be is, once you start increasing the mileage, just take your time. Just take your time. The only thing that stops progress is injury. So if you keep that in mind, and you build nice and safely, increase the load safely. Yeah, I think if you're already running half marathons, you've already got somewhat of discipline and you are following somewhat of a structured plan. So it's all just going to be about shifting that more towards a marathon focus, getting it done, and then booking in that time or booking in that event and just going for it, enjoying it and getting it done. But that's going to conclude the Q&A segments. If you're enjoying this episode, make sure you let me know, comment down below, like it, and subscribe to the channel if you're a new viewer of the series. This weekend, we've got the Sydney Marathon coming up, which I'm going to be vlogging the entire weekend. I'm doing it with BeforeYouSpeak Coffee, my coffee sponsor, and I'm one of their ambassadors. And I absolutely love those guys. And I've got the opportunity to go to Sydney and run the full marathon with those guys. So I'm going to be vlogging the entire weekend. I'll be doing it with Tommy Newell, with Marty from the Run Group. It's going to be so much fun. It's going to be some epic content. So I can't wait to bring that to your screens, guys. So get excited for a video coming next week of the Sydney Marathon full experience. But that's going to conclude this episode, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.